Hi everyone, it's Lisa and we are videotaping for our Monday Make It Monday night crafts. You can catch these virtually on our Facebook website or on the Paris Bourbon County website as well. Today we're going to be making this fall pumpkin tray that's on there incorrectly. But I wanted you to see some of the examples that you will find in your kit that is available for this. So you're going to be receiving a few things in your kit, and otherwise these would be things that you probably already have at home. We're going to be making this one today. This one's very rustic, but you can paint yours. And then there's some additional ones on the back. And the reason I'm doing a fall pumpkin is because by the time this is aired, Halloween will be over, sadly. And I hope you've enjoyed your Halloween, but we're moving on to how we can transition some of our items all the way through fall and not just Halloween. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna be making the fall pumpkin tray. So let's look at an example of some of the things that you're going to need. You're going to need, obviously, plates. Now, I ordered these, and these will be in your kit. So you will get 3 of these. You'll get 3 of the trays. They're kind of oval. Now, I will tell you that if you have these at home, this one's plastic, but if you've had an event and you'd like to upcycle these, there are various ways of using the larger oval platters in this same way that I'm going to be showing you today. So you could easily reuse these or upcycle these. So you need 3 of these. If you were using this tray, you might only need, well, you'll probably still need 3. Or honestly, with a few embellishments at the top, this obviously is still an oval shape that could be used for a pumpkin. Other things that you're going to need cinnamon, ground cinnamon. This will not be in your kit. It's very inexpensive though. You can find this at the Dollar Tree. The good thing about this project is it smells good. You will need Mod Podge. I'm using the matte. At your home, if you have the gloss, use the gloss. So use whatever you have. I'm obviously going to need a brush, and I may need 2 brushes. I need a cup for my Mod Podge because I do not want to get the cinnamon inside of the Mod Podge. I'm going to need a couple of pieces of cardboard. Actually, I only need 1, and this is so that I can form the stem at the very top. You will need a pair of scissors. I used wire on my floral part of this that goes at the very top, so I'm using wire and wire cutters. I'm using E6000 just as an extra adhesive, extra strong adhesive, and my glue gun, which is over there, and you can't see it, but you'll need a glue gun. I'm giving you, and you'll find this in your kit, you'll need a piece of burlap. We're going to use burlap as the top of our pumpkin, the stem. You can use this if you want, and I'll talk about it. This is just twine. We'll talk about maybe using it. I don't think I'm going to use it in this one, but it's a possibility for you. And then other things I'm going to need. I did not necessarily want to make this orange, entirely orange or Halloween colors. I wanted to incorporate some fall colors. And so I used some of the brown raffia, or the tan raffia, I should say, and just some green, I will call it greenery. We see that it's orange, but just some fall flowers in this. I wanted to keep it simple. I did not want it to reflect Halloween necessarily. I wanted it to reflect fall. So I'm going to put some of our supplies out of the way here, and we're going to look at this technique. This technique, excuse me, is a technique that resembles rust. And here is our after of the 3 platters. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and they are not perfect. As a matter of fact, this one here is far from perfect, but I believe it will be the one that goes in the back. So I will not necessarily have to worry about that. So let me show you the technique for this. Now, first off, These come to you white in your kit. But if you want to paint them, spray paint them, and use them in the same way to form a pumpkin as I'm going to, you're more than welcome to do that. This is just a different technique that I've learned and I like. It is very time consuming, but I think the end effect is going to be very pretty. So this is the effect that we're looking for, which is a deeply rusted platter. And here's how we're going to get this effect. Well, actually, let me show you how this looks when it's put together. We're going to put those two together and one in the center. We'll have her stem here, and then you can see just real quickly, and then I'll explain it. But I have used different types of very fall looking items. There's a few berries on here. There's, you know, little cattails and so forth. And then that's going to go right in the center. And then this is going to make an impressive fall arrangement for a buffet, for your mantle, wherever you would choose to put this. Very cute as well. Okay, so let me show you the technique for this. I'm going to need a plate, because that's going to help me secure the leftover cinnamon. I'm going to need some Mod Podge. Let me get that real quick. And I'm only doing a small section because in a moment when you see the process, you'll understand that it's going to take some time for it to dry. I'm using a foam brush for this, and you're probably going to need 2 foam brushes. Foam brushes I do not believe will be included in this kit because I forgot to order them. So we are almost out of foam brushes. Okay, I did not buff this or sand this in any way. It is just as glossy as it was when it was sent here. So all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking the center part of this, and I am putting on, in a small area, a coat of Mod Podge. And I want to make sure I get all the grooves around the edge here. And then over my paper plate, I'm going to take my cinnamon, and I'm being generous with it. And then I'm going to, in your all's direction, slightly just tap that off. And you can see in that corner right there where I just painted the Mod Podge is the cinnamon, and it's sticking to it. Now I'm going to do another little section here. And this is going to resemble rust. And it smells wonderful. And you want to make sure, obviously, that you get around the edges as well. And I can either start sprinkling that back on, or I'm just going to do this again. And we're going to, and you can see I missed a spot with the Mod Podge. And that would be right here. So I can simply go back with my Mod Podge and touch up those areas. And remember, this is rust, so you're going to have some darker discolorations and some lighter discolorations if you've seen real rust. And you can see it started to layer there a little bit, and I'm okay with that because a great deal of this is chunks of cinnamon. So once I get this on there, once I get this completely covered, don't forget your edges, even if you need to Mod Podge it and drop it down in to get your edges. Now this must dry completely. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I worked on it on a Friday and I let it set overnight and tackled it again the next day. Your next step, which I'm just gonna be able to explain to you because this must be entirely dry, is to take Mod Podge. This is once it's entirely covered to your liking. Once it's finished, completely dried, then your last step to get to this point, this old rusted look, is to cover it again in a generous amount of Mod Podge. So be careful when you brush that last coverage of Mod Podge on there, because you don't want to drag necessarily, making sure, again, first, before you even start that last step, is that it's completely dried. Once it's completely dried, we'll take the Mod Podge, we'll put a generous amount all over your plate, including around the sides of it, because we do not want that to chip off. And then once we do that, you have to let this, now I worked on those this morning, and it is 6 o'clock in the evening, and these just now, in the last hour, completely dried. So these are completely dried. You can force that drying process with a hair dryer or not. On that last step only though, because you do not want to blow this cinnamon everywhere. So again, we got one coat on. We're going to complete all 3 of our trays. We're going to let it completely dry. We're going to put on a generous amount of Mod Podge. Once it has completely dried, you're going to let them sit until it's completely and finally dried. Now I'm going to move this. I'll have to take care of this in just a little bit. But here's what we're going to do. Actually, I did pretty good. There's only a little bit of cinnamon, and as I said, it smells really good. Okay, so now that I've got my 3 trays, I want the best tray in the center, because if you'll recall, it's like this. So I want to look at my edges. I want to look and see if there's any places, and there are places here. You know, we talked about our twine. If you find that in this ridge around here, it's not quite to your expectation, then take some of this twine and just glue that in there, and then that kind of hides that. Now, I'm not too worried about it because I actually like the way that looks. So I do know that this end is a little lighter. I'm going to use the dark end. So I'm turning that around. This will be the bottom of my pumpkin. And I will also note this whitening on this particular one. So I took some of the cinnamon off. I think I'm going to put that in the back. In this direction. I think that's it right there. I do have that little white space there, which I can correct if I wanted to, but I don't mind it. And by turning these plates around a little bit, I can kind of get the best design. I kind of like that right there. So what I'm going to do is take my center one out. I'm going to turn these over. And we are going to use popsicle sticks and hot glue. And E6000. So I'm trying to make those as even as I can. Now my hot glue is over there, but here's essentially what I'm gonna do. I'll pause for a few moments, but I'm gonna put some E6000 here and here, and some hot glue here as well. And I'll put one here, and I'll put one here. And even if you want to put a third one, you can put one here. Because on the front of this will be our other plate. So I'm gonna jump off for just a moment. I'll put my E6000 on and my hot glue, and we'll get this put together.